This is Curious Brain Thoughts.
Why, hello, Lou.
Hello, Paul.
How the devil are you?
Pretty well. How are you?
Splendid, splendid, splendid.
Three splendids. Three splendids.
Is worth better than one and two in the hand, in the bush hand.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Leave your bush out of it, thank you.
Less said about the bush then. Let's not beat about the bush anymore. Now, sorry, there's something that's really been on my mind.
Right, okay.
But before we get into that, is are you alright?
Aye. I'm grand, aye. All is well.
You've got a big eye. You've got a grand eye. Good.
No, very excellent. All is good in the hood.
Awesome. So, what I was thinking about that might be interesting for us to sprechen on, and I'm curious to get your feedback on this. I, as you know, love a bit of music. Being a muso, I like playing. We have briefly touched on music before, and the episode was listening.
Pardon?
Thanks very much, comedy timing. And I thought it would be nice for us to talk a bit more about music, because I think it's a massive topic, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
It's interesting you should mention music, because I have. Paul, stop it. Sorry, he's okay, I'm going to describe what Paul just did. He pokes his finger onto the edge of his nostril and then massively flares it in an attempt to put me off, which it did, because I'm now describing it to you. So I do apologise for sporting with your time and intelligence by giving you that information. Moving on, I've been watching a programme on Telebox called The Piano with Claudia Winkelmann. And the premise is this. They have amateur pianists who have pre-auditioned, and they come along and play a piano in a train station, and then there are two people watching, and they go, yes, you're great.
Do they know that the two people are watching?
So in the first series they didn't know they were watching, and in the second obviously they do. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, the spoiler.
So one of them is Lang Lang, who is I didn't know this geezer, but he's...
Is he great?
Well, yeah. He's the best pianist alive today, is the accolade, right? And the other one is Mika, who is a pop artist.
Ah, Mika.
That one. They're watching, and they are then giving feedback, and they invite one person from each train station to come and perform at a huge concert. And so you've got all these random commuters wandering backwards and forwards, and if you know there's pianos in lots of stations these days. There's one in St Pancras. These are big, echoey, busy places, and particularly in the first series, before anybody knew what Wagwan, people were moved to tears. People who didn't know them.
Is that because the piano rolled over the feet?
No, but Pigeon did poo on it once.
Lovely.
So the point is that the music, and it could even be an original composition. So it's not even a familiar classical piece or a piece of music that means something to you. It's an original composition. People are moved to tears. People are stood round, engaged, and it's because the music contained within the music is an expression of emotion. If that emotion is communicated, that's the connection. And for me, that's a huge thing. That is the core of music for me as well, the communication of emotion. And that's why I love some things and not others, although those things could be technically just as competent. One conveys emotion to me and the other one doesn't.
Yeah. Because music is so, massive. That's what I love about it. There's so many aspects to it. And this, the ways in which we can engage in and enjoy music. I think I'm pretty sure I remember meeting somebody. I'm trying to think who it was. They never listened to music. It's just
What, never?
Nope, just wasn't their jam at all. Any music,
Interesting.
because it was just noise, a distraction. They just never listened to music. I was like, alrighty then, we're going to be busy mates. And yeah, so I found that really surprising. I think there's only very few people I think I've ever come across where
I'm trying to think if I know anyone who doesn't in any way have music in their life.
Yeah, it's a short list.
It really is.
And yeah, I can't remember why I was mentioning that. Went off on a bit of a wander. So anyway, that's connected to the piano,
Piano.
which actually means quieter.
Pianissimo.
Yes, bless you.
Very quiet.
So I'm in a band. It's called Mixology. We're massive legends. I mean,
Correct.
standard.
All true.
All true. And the keyboard player, his son, I'm pretty sure I've got this right, was asked by his piano teacher, who was approached by the production company that make the piano, to audition.
Nice.
So he's done an audition and like a video interview. I'm not sure what the latest is on it, and he's very talented. He's 14.
Yeah.
And he's very talented, not in a traditional way.
No.
So it's not about the reading music and playing Chopin and whatever else. He knows his scales, and he knows how to use those really effectively. And he can listen to a song, and it's a similar style to his dad, who I'm in the band with. He can listen to a song and quickly pick up like the bass line or something, and then start from there, because now he knows what key it's in and what scale it is. He can then just quickly play something to it that sounds absolutely beautiful. And I really connect with that style of playing, because I'm not heavy on that sort of structured classical stuff. I've done that in the past, and I used to have very good theory. I've basically forgotten most of my theory these days. And I'm really into more of the expressive stuff. So that doesn't mean it's got to be wacky. It just means I'm trying to convey or express something in the way that I'm playing, whatever genre of music that is, from salsa to dance music to even possibly a bit of jazz. So yeah, music is a big part of my life, in listening to it, in playing and enjoying, you know what I mean? Like the feeling as well. I think that's one of the reasons why I like sound equipment, is because, you know, you could go to a concert and see the band and be like, wow, they look really impressive. If it sounds like crap, then you're going to really not enjoy the gig very much. You're like, oh, I couldn't really hear it, or it was all screechy or too loud or whatever. When you can feel the music as well as, you know, you're hearing it and you can feel it, when it becomes more of a full body experience, that's when it's really, really powerful. And that's something that I try to replicate in the stuff that I do.
It's interesting because there's this guy I know. He used to produce a band. No. Manage a band. Something. Anyway. Into music industry. And he doesn't do that anymore. What he does now, it's really interesting. He does these sound installations. So it's this, to your point, this full body experience. In the same way you would have an art installation, you have a sound installation. In fact, this happens in galleries and other places where art is. So there's that real crossover. So music can be anything from hold music,
We all
on
love that old music.
on the old call centres.
Plinkety plonkety plinky plonk.
And then so that's super great. So it can be anything from that to this full body sound installation experience, and people are. I think that's getting more and more popular these days. You know, so there's it's not music, but it is sound.
Yes.
Sound healing.
Yes.
So I do like a gong bath, Paul. I'm not going to lie to you.
Love a gong bath.
Right? So that is the vibration. So gongs are played they have different frequencies, and the gong is played, and basically you just lie on the floor, and it goes at cellular level through your whole body, and so that's so sound is extremely powerful and is a healing modality for some people. Music, as we've said, is a hugely emotional thing and an experiential thing. And for a small minority of people, not a thing at all.
Yeah, it's the other thing. I was talking to someone the other day because I'm working on there's another project I'm working on called MXP. Watch this space. Anyway, we were talking about how many songs we could think of, and I'd be interested to see what you've got to say about this, Lou. How many songs you can think of that weren't about struggling or strife, or how many didn't have like an arc to them, a story arc of some description, overcoming something and huzzah. So I can't think of very many, apart from maybe Pharrell Williams' Happy and a few others, that are just upbeat, positive things. There tends to be, a lot of this creativity stuff comes from personal experiences that the artists have had of struggle or strife or whatever. And I found that quite interesting as well. So it's not always necessarily melancholy. It is connected to some bigger experiences that the artist may have had in some respect. What sort of pure, happy vibe songs can you think of off the top of your head?
Well, when there's this song I was listening to this morning, and it's called Pachamama, which is I think, is it Portuguese or I don't know. Anyway, it means Mother Earth, basically, and it's this devotional song to the earth, almost like a chant. It's very beautiful. It's got very beautiful harmonies in it, and I was listening to that this morning, and that is not about strife or struggle, but neither is it a pop song. It's more, and there are these they're kind of like they're not mantras, they're these devotional things, they're Jai Ma and things like that from the yoga scene I became familiar with, but again they are more chant-like and devotional rather than a song with a story arc. And then you've got all sorts of classical pieces which are telling different stories. I'm thinking like Holst, The Planets, but there is still strife and struggle and tribulation, high drama. So no, I don't think any classical music can be included because it all has a story arc of some kind. I think the same is true of blues, jazz. I'm just running through genres, rap, hip hop, dance, even dance music.
Yeah. You've always got a drop.
There's always a drop. There's always drama, not necessarily in the lyrics, but in the way the song is constructed.
Building up the tension and so on.
And in dance music, the drop is the whole thing. There's this great tune by Eric Prince, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about 8 minutes long, and it builds to this huge drop. And it's a great track, but it's so simple.
Yeah.
He's got a hook in it, and a melodic hook, and the beat grow, and it's very skillfully done.
Yeah.
But it's not so it doesn't need to be complicated, but it does need to take you on a journey of some kind. But even those chant-like things, you know, if you were, you know, someone's got their harmonium out and we're singing these, you know, these repetitive things, like there's one and it goes, "We come from the goddess, and to her we shall return like a drop of rain flowing to the ocean." And you just sing it time after time after time. And there's some that takes you on a journey as well. Do you know what I mean? So I can't think of anything even that doesn't take you on any kind of journey.
It's true, actually. I was thinking about like Gregorian music. So my eldest is 18, and apart from obviously all my kids are legends, standard. Obviously. We mentioned Olivia, my middle one, who has epic side eye.
Yes, she still does have that.
She still has a mean side eye.
Very good at that.
And Samuel, my eldest, he's very thoughtful and reflective and so forth, and he got into Gregorian music.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and found himself being able to sort of enter into a meditative state whilst listening to these things.
Yes.
You know, chilling in his room, just lying on his bed or whatever, with headphones on, to have an enveloping sound. And, you know, that's all voice, just choir. And it is really cool. I'm fascinated with, there's a type of singing where people can sing 4 notes at the same time.
Yes.
And
what?
Yes, what?
What? Say what?
It is a bit like that. Like, yeah, what? Sorry, what now?
Yeah, you told me about that the other day.
Yeah. And also, like, how deep voices can go. It's really incredible. Why is that incredible? Because when it is in the right setting with the right, oh my gosh. Acoustics, thank you. With the right acoustics, it can move you. It creates something. So even something that isn't dramatic, let's say, like a Gregorian piece of music, like a Gregorian chant, doesn't have to be dramatic. It still can be moving. Because, like you say, it can evoke something in you that causes an ebb and flow.
Yeah. Yes, and so, with... it's interesting, actually. On Sunday, this Sunday just gone, we went to our niece's first Holy Communion.
Yeah.
And I was saying to my son Felix on the way home, he said to me, "Oh, Mum, you didn't really need to look at the words for the songs." Because there were certain songs and, you know, they're not, you know, you have to have the words in church and so on. Not everyone knows them off by heart. But I'm not a regular church goer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was as a child. Obviously, Mum and Dad took us. And so those words, those tunes were still there. I hadn't heard some of them for many, many, many years. And so I think maybe because it's connected either to something that happened earlier on in my childhood when I was quite young, and or to emotions, because that's what, you know, often what anchors a memory in our brains. And he was struck by it, that I didn't have to look at the words, that I knew the tunes.
Yeah.
And I noticed it too. I was like, God, this is a trip down memory lane. So music has that, it's such a powerful, powerful anchor.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's that programme that we have here in the UK, Desert Island Discs, which...
On BBC Radio 4?
Radio 4. It's on BBC Sounds for those who can get it. If you've never listened to Desert Island Discs, It's absolutely brilliant. You get somebody, not necessarily a celebrity, but they might be I don't know, an author, an explorer, a musician, somebody, and they pick 10 tracks and they explain why they've picked this music. And so this music is like an autobiography, and these tracks are all meaningful to them for different reasons. And it's a very beautiful thing because they tell the story of their life using the music to annotate it. And these tracks, as they listen to them, people cry. It brings up a powerful, powerful memory of a time in their life, whatever that memory might be. So, yeah, it's just, it can transport you. It's incredibly powerful.
There's another programme and I was just quickly trying to find it because I'm not sure whether it's on Spotify or BBC Sounds or something. And it's similar in as much as there is a track that people share from their own perspective. So there will be a song, like I remember listening to one of them was Sitting in the Dock of the Bay. And it was describing, people from the band or the record company or whatever were talking about the inspiration for it. And then there was someone who was going through something significant in their life at the time, and they were listening, like one person was going through cancer treatment, and they were talking about what the lyrics meant to them in that moment, and someone else was doing something else completely different. And it was interesting how all of these very different stories all connected together on the back of this Sitting in the Dock of the Bay in this example, and how it brought up all sorts of emotions, memories, feelings, visions, imagination, so much from that one thing, which wasn't necessarily at all related to what the original artist was thinking of.
No, much like any art form, if you look at a picture, if you, I don't know, read a poem, because I studied English, and it used to make me smile a little bit when the teacher or the lecturer would say, and what the poet means with this. I'm like, well, did you ask them? How do you know? They've been dead for hundreds of years. It's like, well, this is what we think they mean, what they actually meant. And sometimes it's clear from the language and sometimes it isn't clear. So it's open to interpretation. I think any art form is open to interpretation and should mesh with our own experience, and that's what makes it meaningful. So music, because obviously it's words, well, it can be words and lyrics, words and melody, it can have that's the two things, that's poetry and music meshed together, which makes it, I think, more sticky and more powerful, which is what you get in a lot of, obviously, pop music and other genres. So yeah.
Also ways of telling stories. You think about, say, like tribal music, that was a way of communicating.
Yeah.
The expression, the jungle drums, I heard that on the jungle drums, because that was a way of communicating over some distances and so forth. Which became a music form that people would enjoy. I want to hear that message again. I enjoyed that. And so all this stuff around the various ways of it connecting to us is really cool. And you said something just a minute ago that I think was worth repeating, and I've wonderfully forgotten it. About anyway, it was something and it's left me head.
But when you think about music and art, music itself as an art form, music as a melding of poetry and music itself, then you look at music and ceremony. So music as a way in, or as an integral part of.
Yes.
It could be anything from drumming to, I don't know, the wedding march.
Yep.
But we associate certain pieces of music in different cultures and countries with different it's a shortcut almost.
Yes.
You know, if you hear, oh, that's someone walking down the aisle, for example, or whatever. There we go. Here comes the bride. Lovely.
Lovely.
So no explanation is needed. We know what we expect from that piece of music.
Guess this one then.
Go.
Da 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 da.
Happy birthday to me.
And like you say, it's a shortcut to some of these things.
Yeah.
Blimmin' heck. I think music's brilliant.
Do you know, I'm just reminded of the fact that you and I, Rachel and Bernard never went, but you and I both went to music school.
We did.
On a Saturday. We hadn't had enough of school, but we didn't want to go to more of the regular school. We wanted a different school, and that was music scuole.
Yes.
And that's where you learn all your classical percussion stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I learned a lot of stuff around
The recorder.
playing in an ensemble, singing. I was in a choir.
I was in a choir for a bit as well.
I love singing. So, yeah, music is deeply ingrained in us. It's deeply part of who we are. And I think for lots of people in different ways. And I was reading something about how when we're young, our brain, as it develops, it prunes things off that aren't needed, neural pathways, networks, things that it doesn't need. And I wonder whether for people for whom music is not a thing at all, whether their brain simply pruned that bit out because they grew up in a setting where music just wasn't there at all.
Yeah.
And it just pruned it out and it's not needed.
Yeah.
And they're perfectly happy. It's not like they're,
No.
For us it's incredibly powerful, but for them it just wasn't necessary.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, because coming up in a minute is going to be the Curious Brain Farts jingle, and when we put that together, I remember sharing it with my youngest, Noah, and I had a mic set up because I was going to do some sort of welcome to Curious Brain Farts sort of thing, and he listened to the jingle first time, and he did the voiceover that you hear on the jingle, because that's how it spoke to him in that moment.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to do that, so he did.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Absolutely great.
Tell you what, let's enjoy a lovely piece of music.
3, 2, 1.
Go.
Curious Brain Thoughts.